Hey guys, how are you? I just want to make a quick video about podcasts. And I just wanted to see what kind of podcasts you guys listen to, or the podcasts you're thinking of subscribing to, or even the podcasts you don't like for whatever reason that you can explain in a video response or a text response. But yeah, first of all, for those of you who don't know, podcasts are kind of like online radio shows but pre-recorded, and they can sometimes be live, but they usually aren't. But basically, you download them through iTunes, and you don't even have to be a geek to like podcasts. Podcasts are like radio shows, but for topics on everything. Literally, there's topics on video games, technology in general. Obviously, there's tons of ones on there's tons of podcasts on technology. Computers, that kind of falls into technology, obviously. Even cooking. There's even probably a podcast on knitting, or probably like walking your dog. Seriously though, and there's even podcasts like daily podcasts that give you the news, and they're great to listen to in the car. But usually I listen to podcasts on my computer during the day on my headphones, or while I'm falling asleep on the headphones, and on my headphones, because I don't know. I just like to listen to podcasts while I'm falling asleep, or music, but usually podcasts. So anyway, let me open iTunes real quick. I thought I'd let you know what podcasts I subscribe to. Keep in mind, I don't watch these every day, but I do watch most of them on a regular basis. Like, if it's a weekly podcast, then I watch it weekly. And if it's daily podcasts, I probably watch it like every other day. Or I let them pile up, and then I listen to them all in like one day, like one after another, but it's usually not the case. Alright, so first of all, I listen to the Adobe, actually, oh yeah, by the way, podcasts can also be video podcasts, as in like TV shows. If you, I'll just get more into it as I watch it. Explain it. Okay, the first one I watched, actually I've yet to watch this, but I did subscribe to it a couple nights ago. Adobe Creative Suite Video Podcast. It's just a podcast that goes through like Photoshop tips, Lightroom, Illustrator, and all that stuff. Basically anything by Adobe, Flash, yeah. Pretty self-explanatory. Diggnation. Probably my favorite podcast out there besides This Week in Tech and MacBreak Weekly. Diggnation has the host Kevin Rose and Alex Albrecht. I don't know if I say his name right. Albrecht. It's like kind of a tough last part of the last name to say. If you don't remember, these guys used to be on, Kevin used to be on G4 and G4 Tech TV. Maybe ZDTV. Kevin Rose Kevin Rose was on ZDTV, but Alex Albrecht didn't enter the screensavers until, I think it was G4 Tech TV. But now the show is the Attack of the Show. Pretty stupid show if you ask me, but it's okay. They just don't do much technology anymore, which sucks. They do a lot of stupid stuff now. But yeah, basically, I know I say basically a lot. The entire ZDTV/G4 network is on iTunes now. You have Leo Laporte, Patrick Norton, Kevin Rose, Alex Albrecht. Excuse me, my voice is crying. I just woke up a little while ago, and I need a drink. Leo Laporte, did I say him? Leo Laporte's a big one. And a lot of other great hosts that I can't think of right now. What's his name? John C. Dvorak's on there. And basically all those people, just go on there and you can see them. Okay, Gadget Pr0n is one I just subscribe to all of G4, and I get to watch that. It's just quick reviews or first impressions on products that just came out. Inside Mac Radio, I used to listen to this all the time like a year ago, but then I stopped. But I just started listening to them again, and I think it's great. The hosts are very entertaining. Not as good as like Twit and MacBreak Weekly, but I like them. But yeah, that's just a show about like Apple news and stuff like that. Internet Business Mastery. This is a new podcast I started listening to now that I signed up for Google AdSense, and now that I have ads on my YouTube videos and my blogs. And since I'm making money off those things, which is very cool. I mean, I don't make much, but it's better than nothing. I now listen to this podcast for tips. Sorry if I'm kind of out of it. I'm just trying to get this through quickly. It's just tips on how to handle business online, where to place ads, how to place ads, and how to gain more viewers and subscribers or whatever, and more traffic. All that good stuff. Okay, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. This is a great one. Leo Laporte records a segment on KFI radio in San Francisco, I think. somewhere in California. I'm pretty sure it's San Francisco. Basically, he goes through 2 hours of taking people's phone calls and explaining the latest tech, and then he puts it on iTunes or whatever program you use to listen to your podcast, and then he lets us listen to it, and it's just great. It's kind of like Call for Help, you know, the good old days of Call for Help. People call in with their questions, and you just listen to it. It's just very, very entertaining, and you actually learn stuff over time. And he's also very, very entertaining. Laporte is probably my favorite host on the podcast besides Kevin Rose. He's just so cool. MacBreak Weekly is a weekly podcast with Laporte, Merlin Mann, which is a cool guy, and they just talk about the latest Apple news. Pretty self-explanatory. Again, very good podcast. It's part of the Twit network, meaning this Week in Tech. What else do I have? Skipping the Macworld keynote videos. I have 2007, 2008 saved. Net at Night is a new one I just signed up for. What's the host's name again? Oh yeah, Amber MacArthur, but some people like me just call her Amber Mac. She just talks about Net at Night, the latest things going on the internet, and yeah, she's cute too, so that doesn't hurt. Next is Photoshop Killer Tips. That's a video podcast. I think it's daily. What's his name from Photoshop User TV? Oops, wrong podcast. Sorry, I'm kind of doing this as I go. They don't have the host here, but Matt Klaskowski. I actually saw him in person when I went to Mac Live, the keynote to learn Photoshop tips. That was so cool seeing him in person. And Scott Kelby and Dave Cross. But yeah, Photoshop Killer Tips. I think it's a daily podcast. I think it's daily. I'm pretty sure. Basically, just 1 to 2 minutes tips that he can think of, just tips that help your workflow and productivity, and it's very cool. And I've actually learned a lot from his tips. Then Photoshop User TV is a weekly video podcast, which is great. It's basically three guys, the three guys I just talked about. They just do a show on Photoshop tips. They go through viewer questions. They have a weekly contest where you can win cool prizes and stuff like that. I highly recommend. Actually, I highly recommend any of these podcasts that I'm talking about. I don't subscribe to just any podcast. I actually look for the podcasts that are popular and that provide good content. Next, I have that's the Steve Jobs and Bill Gates at the D5 conference. That was just a one-time thing. Tekzilla is a good one with Patrick Norton, and I forget the other lady's name, the other woman's name. But yeah, they don't have it listed right here. Basically, it's just, think of it like the Screensavers, kind of, but with just Patrick Norton and the other woman. I can't think of her name. Excuse me. But it's a great podcast, and yeah, it's just a weekly podcast of tech goodness. And finally, the last one is one of the best ones. This Week in Tech. This has Leo Laporte, John C. Dvorak. I'm just reading this. Molly Wood, Jason Calacanis or something like that, and Don Reisinger. This is a very popular podcast. This is probably one of the most popular podcasts on iTunes, the iTunes podcast section. The hosts change every week. Well, not every week, but it's just basically who's there. Leo Laporte is usually there, and so is John C. Dvorak, and then some other people. I guess it just depends who shows up. And it's usually over Skype, I believe. So, alright, that's it. Those are my favorite podcasts. Please respond with what podcasts you like. Let me see if... Okay, good. I'm still recording. I'm good. I'm under 10 minutes for once, so... Alright, yeah, just reply with what podcasts you like and all that good stuff, and just explain why. And... yeah. Oh god, my video first for a second. I was scared. Okay. Thanks for watching, guys. And I hope you have a good weekend. And it snowed out even more, which is great. Not that it pertains to this video. I just thought I'd say. And more snow to come. Woo! Alright. Peace, guys. And, have a great weekend.